Well, hello everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut. I'm part of Helping the Brave. Looks like LinkedIn's having a little issue today, so if you don't see us there, get over on the other ones, Facebook or YouTube, and you can understand everything's going on. All right, Amy's out today. She is actually working with her normal Manion, her Travis Manion Foundation. She's working there, and she's gonna unfortunately miss today, so it's just going to be me. And let's bring in our guest right away. All right, hold on a second, guys. All right, so I have Shane Schreck and Mitchell. Is it Keffner?
Kieffer.
I knew if I would have went Kieffer Sullen, you would have said it was the other way or something.
Yeah, he's only got one F though.
I know, but now you think that I'm not a redneck.
That's
I grew up in Modesto, California. I mean, Colorado, I'm back and forth, but really Modesto. I became dirt road poor. My dad died of hairy cell leukemia from Agent Orange in the Air Force. So you can't blame me for, I get 9 times out of 10, I'll get it right. But there are those occasional. So now say my last name.
Parcaut?
Schreck, do you have a choice? Shane?
Parkway.
Parcaut. See?
Parcaut. I kind of have.
And so nothing's ever perfect.
Yeah.
We'll move on.
Yep.
All right, so it's going to be different because we have 3 of us and no Amy to ask these other questions. So I'm going to start with you, Shane, first. Then I'll go to Mitchell. What service were you in, and why did you choose it?
So at 5 years old, I told my grandmother on a business or on a family vacation that I wanted to be a soldier. So I stuck with that my whole life growing up, and was in the Army for 17 years, finishing my career with special operations, and loved it. Loved every second of it. I was like still get goosebumps when I went to work kind of thing. It was always an easy choice for me.
So you said 17 years. Did you get injured? Is that where you were out, or you just had enough?
Yeah. So I ended up getting medically med boarded out, and at 17 years, and it was kind of bummed about it, but life just has its way of working out. Now I have a 4-year-old son, so it kind of worked out.
There you go. All right, Mitchell.
So I was Air Force myself.
That's okay.
Yeah. I wanted to play football in college, and college had an ROTC program, and I decided to commission through there. And I ended up in 2011 getting wounded in action. Got me a Purple Heart, but broke 10 vertebrae and traumatic brain injury while I was at it. I ended up going through a medical board after I got my AFIT degree in data science and operations research. So I served about 8 years myself and medically retired.
Wow. Was it, do you want to talk a little bit about your injury?
Sure. Actually, one of the pictures back here, there we go, is the inside of the vehicle with all the lights dislodged and kind of everything in shambles. I had an explosively formed penetrating IED blow through the vehicle. It passed about 2 feet in front of my forehead and fragged the inside. I was scrunched into my seatbelt, and that's what kind of fractured all my vertebrae. I was knocked unconscious, and my boss was sitting on the side of me, and I just basically laid on top of him so he would be, safe at the time. There's 4 vehicles. They were all lightly armored SUVs. We were there rebuilding Iraq at the time in 2011, and they set up for us real good, about 40 insurgents. First vehicle got a conventional IED. Second vehicle had RPG shot at it, but they aimed too low, and it bounced off the ditch and went up and over their vehicle. Even though a piece of the cone still stuck in the side, it didn't detonate. Then we had the prime charge, the EFP, and that was a broad hit. The 4th vehicle didn't get hit, but then we had RPGs flying behind us that barely missed us. That would have sent us, up in the air, 30 feet in the air, but it hit a house on the other side of the road. And then there's about, 15 more guys with AKs trying to finish us off. We were able to limp up the road on run flat tires before these lightly armored SUVs. They can really only take a bullet round. So they were in pretty bad shape, but we got to the next checkpoint, changed the run flat tires, and had about a 2.5-hour drive back to base. And we met our QRF at the gate. So,
and people who don't know what QRF is,
quick reaction force.
They're
supposed to be our saviors. when you get into shit, pardon my French,
Good.
get into action, they're supposed to come to your aid. So ours didn't come until we were already safe. But that's what Shane and I are doing now for business owners, is trying to be that quick reaction force to help other vets get off the ground and keep it going, because there's just, it's tough starting businesses. So talking with service disabled veterans and other veteran business owners, they've got a lot of other issues they got to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and we feel like we can help there.
Gotcha, Mitchell. Shane, I didn't ask you what your injury was. Please don't take that personally.
No actual. I was unscathed, but it was just mainly just body getting beat up from jumping out of perfectly good airplanes and all that year wearing all the equipment. So I somehow got missed a lot. So
my son's in the Army. I don't know if you know that. So I was Navy. Don't hold that against me. Son's in the Army, airborne medic, and he's like, Dad, I'm tired of jumping out. He's 22. I'm getting too old to jump out of planes. But he was in Anchorage, Alaska for his first 4 years, and they did a ton of jumping and ran into trees, you name it. They did it all. And so I could see that. It's just, I was in the thing. I never jump out of a perfectly good airplane. I always wait till, there's got to be some reason to get out. So
that's probably smart, because it's equivalent of jumping off like a story and a half, basically. That's how hard you hit the ground. And then
wow.
You got, there's so many jumps where I remember the wind shifting at the very last minute. And all you could do is just pray at that point. Land the way you're supposed to, and then hope. And there's times I did it. I hit the ground so hard that I couldn't believe my legs weren't shattered. But it did catch up to me. But I never really got hurt on a jump. Actually, just kind of wear and tear over the years.
Yeah, because he just transferred to Washington State. And he's like, I'm done being airborne. It's like, you're 22, man. He's a snowboarder, so he's always had no regards for his personal safety on anything he ever did. So,
snowboarding.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, how did you two meet? Because we're going to get into the story, because we already went kind of where you transitioned out, and you both were medical. So at that point, when you're medically transferred, they didn't sit you down and do a TAPS program. They were like, you're out of here, right? Or did they send you through the TAPS programs?
They did TAPS, but go ahead, Shane.
No, for the Army, they did have a version of that, I would say. But the problem that I found was, just like a lot of things in life, it's kind of a check the box kind of culture on stuff. And you just get rushed through, and it becomes more about, I have to go do this because of this. And I'm not going to get signed off on or anything else. And it doesn't really allow, in my opinion, the service member transitioning out to really have things slow down for him and really get a grasp on it. For me, I think they started the process like within a month, of my separation date. And I would think a minimum of a year is something that, as long as it's, in some cases you can't really predict that, but, still, I think there should be more time with it. And then even counseling along the way, like have a counselor that helps you, your transition counselor. And that way that they can have that conversation with you and like, look, this is what's going to come up. This is what you need to get out of it. And just kind of give them the 360 view of everything that's available to them, because there is a lot of good resources out there. But for the most part, I feel like a lot of veterans are just, they're ready to get out, whatever the reason, and they're checking the block, and then they're out, and they can fall on their face pretty quick. And then it's like, well, shoot, what's next?
Right.
Yeah.
Mitchell?
So I had a little bit longer of a way out, because I didn't want to get med board right away, and I had a slot for Air Force Institute Technology. So I suffered through quite a bit of that. But doing the mental workouts every day for my master's brought my brain back to normal, I think. Just like if you're going to work out a muscle, working out your brain was the best for me. Didn't meet Shane just until a few months back. We were both selected from Stars Helping Heroes. Tim Brown contacted us, the famous Hall of Fame wide receiver. And he has some business ideas about helping fellow heroes. I don't call myself a hero by any means, but Shane, I do. And, you know, getting off the ground and doing our own entrepreneurial business type of stuff. And for us, it's really, we really want to target the veteran population just because we feel so ingrained with them. We know that when they left the service, they lose that teammate aspect, and we want to be that teammate for them too.
Good. I mean, because a lot of people prior to where we have it now, where no matter where you're located, we could do a Zoom call, right? Or we could do a StreamYard and we can have a podcast or everything else. Everybody was so separated. There was no connection when you got out. It was not. And now you have so much technology that can put you together. Where are you guys located?
I'm actually in Storm Lake, Iowa. So it's the northwest corner of Iowa.
Mitchell?
I'm mainly out of Lima, Peru, but right now I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yes. And I'm in Modesto, California. So that's what I'm talking about. It's like you could be all over the world. I've been on podcasts out of London, everywhere, you name it, for its different things. And so that's what's nice about the way it is. You don't have to be in the same town. You don't have to be in the same to do business with other people and get it moving. And whenever you guys need help with, let me know, because I'm about helping vets. I've been owning a mortgage company for many, many years, and I'm a veteran business owner. And it's you're right. It's totally different. We look at things totally different than other people. Mm-hmm. Right. And the other issue is we're very direct. Yes. And this is how it's supposed to be. Here's our SOP. Let's get this done. And I was talking to a guy the other day who's also a veteran guy, and he runs this company. And he's like, my biggest problem I have is when I come in, I got to do all these niceties just to get to work. I got to say, how's your day going? How's this? I just want to get to my desk and get to work. I don't want to have to do that. I'm like, that's a total vet. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's really about the culture. After I retired, I started working for SOCOM and SOCCENT down in Tampa. Before I even, took the uniform off, I was already into my next jobs. And working as a military contractor, you still got that a little bit. But then getting into other endeavors, the civilian workforce, it's just, the culture is just not the same. So that's what we want to bring, is our culture to the business owners that are vets, because we feel you miss that a lot. And that transparency, that integrity you can feel like you can have with other service members is a big thing. If you don't want to deal with used car salesman types, and you want to have it direct, you want to have total confidence in who you're talking with, and you want to know that they're there for you.
All right. So now let's talk about how you met and what you guys are doing.
So yeah, as Mitchell kind of explained, we had Tim Brown, who's the wide receiver for the Oakland Raiders, Hall of Famer, Heisman Trophy winner, University of Notre Dame boy. So obviously he's a smart guy. And so he reached out.
You lost me at Raiders. I'm a Broncos fan, so you lost me at Raiders.
Well, but yeah, the Broncos are starting to look better that way.
Oh, hey, we got our third game in, man. We're going to the playoffs. We won our third game of the season. We got to go to the playoffs next.
It had to happen. Great coach. So.
Every dog has its day. A broken clock, broken watch is right twice a day, right?
There you go. But so we kind of got thrown in together to this endeavor where we were basically going to be in position to help businesses kind of come to their aid for a suite of different consulting services that we could provide for them. And once me and Mitchell kind of got together, and we're both veterans, both very like-minded, had good energy with each other, it was just kind of a no-brainer that, like, let's do this, like, completely, the two of us. And we love even in the title, the QRF as a quick reaction force, because we thought that's a good way to put what we're trying to do, is because as we touched on before, it's a whole different language, right? When you're talking with vets to vets, it's different. The rapport, in most cases, 99.9% of the time, it's amazing because we can sit on a call. It's the rapport is there. So you immediately have that rapport, that background with each other. And Mitchell and I both know the struggles that we go through day to day. And it's so much easier to deal with someone like that directly and be able to relate and, kind of explain the QRF portion of what we do as far as helping and kind of rescue business owners and, wherever they're at and whatever they're trying to accomplish.
And it's the big thing here is what we help is bringing Wall Street to Main Street. So Wall Street's built on building this business credit foundation and getting access to capital, at the drop of a dime. But when you're a sole owner or even just a LLC type, it's tough to get SBA loans. It's tough to get going. So you find that 30% of businesses don't make it their first year. 50% of their businesses don't make it 5 years. And we don't want the veterans to be in that area. And 80% of the time, the reason that it is because of lack of cash flow and access to capital. So there's other ways that we do what we do is to help build that business credit foundation so they can actually get 10 times the amount of business credit that they would need or capital that they would need, and do it without using a personal guarantee. So they don't have to put their entire business up for their house, or you're protecting your family, you're protecting your resources. We split that apart, so it's not using your social security number and bank can't come after your house. It's using your business EIN tax ID number, and only the business assets are at risk. So
there's no personal guarantee.
That's what we go after. Yep. There's call it a 7-step process. But for simplification purposes, that's what we do is we basically make it so the businesses are acting on the business EIN and not social security numbers, not personal guarantees. So when they're applying for credit, they're often going to get accepted. We know which vendors to work with that are going to report to the business credit bureaus, because only 7% of business cards will do that. And a lot of people don't know that. A lot of other bankers don't know that, or they don't want you to know that. But you have to build up, all 3 different credit bureaus. You got Dun and Bradstreet, Business Experian, and Business Equifax that you want to work with. And if you're using the wrong cards or not using them correctly, then you never do build that business credit. So you may be a $2 million revenue business and have 20 employees under you, but they may still recommend you only $1,000 worth of credit. And your credit score, which is business credit score, it goes from 0 to 100, might be in the dumps, like a 7 or a 10. And that's what we find with a lot of the businesses that we work with. For one, they don't know their business credit score. We can pull those reports and find out where they're at, but then most often it's starting from that low level. And, by the end of it, we can get them up into the, $750K range for credit limit increases and have their business scores at like an 80 within a year. And an 80 for business credit score versus, a personal credit score is like a 720. So you're going to get a lot better treatment from the banks at that point too.
Shane, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, it's, what we're finding is that there's a lot of small business owners, they have the passion, they have the drive, they have the idea, the solution to fix a problem, all these things that, ignite that entrepreneur kind of drive within that person. But they really just kind of get to the point where, some of these details get lost. I think there's a lot of small businesses out there that do have personal guarantees on their business. And, similar to the best example I can give is just, I really wish in high school you'd have 4 years of how to manage your finances or something, a class like that, because, people just don't learn unless you really have an active like parent or someone throughout the years. You don't figure this stuff out until you mess up a bunch of times, and then you eventually you figure it out. Well, it's no different than in business. A lot of times it's not like these businesses are, always being handed over from, someone that says, all right, this is all the things you need to do. More times than not, it's someone that just created this vision for themselves and are running at it, and they're running 1,000,000 miles an hour, and they're working 100 hours a week trying to do it. And this is, our solutions that we offer is just kind of to be that quick reaction force for them, and then kind of come to their aid, slow things down, and then walk them through our process.
So what do you offer?
So we offer a number of things. The first thing is definitely building their business credit profile. If you don't have simple things like an address that's not your personal home, or a phone number that's listed in 411, those are some things automatically that banks will just look at and deny you credit right then and there. So we make sure that all the ducks in a row, the name and everything is what it says on your EIN. And then we go into using 500, 700 of these vendors that we've already worked with and understand what their underwriting is. We know the underwriters. We know what it's going to take for them to get accepted. Because a lot of time, if you apply for a business credit card, like I said, you don't know that your score's so bad, and you'll get that letter 7 days later telling you that your application has failed, and they won't even tell you why. So,
all right, so you help them build their credit, their business credit.
Yeah, and then we give them access to cash flow mapping tools, business valuations. If depending on where they are.
So please don't take this wrong, but these are big words. Break them down for people. Because remember, not everybody that's listening to this is going to know every acronym that we know in the military. What the big words you're using. Try to dumb it, so people understand what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Please.
So personal guarantees. Let's just start there, because when you take money out for your business, but you have to give your own social security number, you're giving them personal guarantee that you're going to pay it back. And so if you don't, or if you have issues with cash flow coming in, you can't pay something off in time, they're going to come after you. And so they're coming after your house, your family, your assets, your cars, your bank accounts, and things of that nature. So that's, number one thing we do is try to separate that. So we use business credit, just like they do on Wall Street, to separate business and personal finances. So that way, when you're getting credit and access to cash through these different vendors, you can use it, and it's going to be based on your business. So not only do you get about 10 times the amount of credit, because now say your business is $1 million, but you only make $100,000. Who do you think is going to want to lend you money? The bank is going to want to lend that business the money that makes $1 million, instead of you that earns 100,000. Yet that's how it's done these days with small businesses. That's just how it is. And information is the biggest key, because 90% of people probably won't know that is how it's done. I own my own small business too for 20 years and didn't understand this stuff until I got with Tim Brown and understood, how these things work.
So what I'm hearing, there's a lack of education for business owners, veteran business owners, to understand everything when it comes to credit, and how to use credit and just use your business credit and how to build it is what I'm hearing so far. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to get into what you guys do more so people understand why they would want to come to you besides building their credit. I mean, what else they do? Shane, do you want to add in here?
Yeah. So once, a good example I can give, once we get their credit profile where we need it, and again, there's a process, steps that we go through to get them to the point where there is that separation between personal and business finances. Once we get them to that point, then we go into cash flow mapping, which is basically managing the cash flow of the company, of the business. And a good example I can give you is, we had an example where we had we ended up getting $200,000 for a client for business credit. Everything was switched over business credit. Well, this client decided that they would like to go out and buy three vehicles at that point. And we kind of had to press pause on it and kind of walk them through truly what that means. I mean, just because you have that credit available doesn't mean you can just, go out and spend it all the way, because you're going to have to do it within time. So eventually we got him to understand that after, every 6 months or so, he could add a vehicle. And that, again, it relates right back to personal credit stuff. Like, how many times have people just, if you get pre-approved for a house for 300,000, well, more people are going to probably be like, well, I can afford a $300,000 house then. Or your credit limit is 1,500 on this card. Well, I got 1,500 to spend. It's no different than that. And once we get them to that point, there's a lot of different paths we can take with them, because a lot of business owners also aren't prepared for an exit strategy. And we make sure that that foundation's laid early on, because you got to be building towards something. I mean, who wants to work in their business for 100 hours forever? There has to be a strategy to where the business runs itself without you. There has to be a strategy that, if you do plan on selling the business, what does that look like? And where do you need to get to? And all this relates back to the process that we go through, like credit itself. If there's a company that's got tied to personal credit and everything else, that can be a mess. I almost bought a bar a few years back, and I backed out of the deal because it was just laced with personal guarantees and just didn't seem right at all for me to get involved with it. And now when I'm finding that's kind of almost status quo across the board. A lot of bars, restaurants, clubs types are ran that way. And we want to make sure that you're in the best possible position, that if you're going to sell that business, what that looks like. And then that way there's a clean process when someone comes in and wants to purchase that business from you.
All right. So what I'm hearing is you help them build their credit. You'll help them with the exit strategy. What else? I mean, why would I come to you? How are you going to help me as a small business owner besides those two things? Because those are important. I'm not saying that's, but is there other stuff that you help them with that, I have your website up. It says business financial management, business funding, data science, talent management.
Which one do you
Right.
want?
No, I'm
Yeah.
just throwing it out. I'm trying to help you guys. All right. Trying to help you get the word. Because if somebody's watching this and they're like, why do I need these guys to help my business as a veteran? That's what I'm trying to get across. So people can understand where to go to help you guys, get help from you guys. And by the way, your website's businessleadersqrf.com.
Thank you for that. So just in the talent management space alone, what we modeled that after, I did get voluntold to go be a recruiter at one point in my career, which I was not happy about. And I learned a lot about myself in that process, but with the recruiting part and just the talent management part, when I went over to special operations, I helped revamp the recruiting process we did for them. And we have very unorthodox ways of getting the right fit, the right person. A lot of times you could sit and look at resumes all day long, but we would sit down with our clients and actually train them on really looking for the full spectrum. We would have said soldier back in the day, but the full spectrum person that's really going to be the right fit for their company, and walk that through, almost like a selection process that we use in the military to get to elite level, service members. Is the same process. And so really what we would pride ourselves on is wherever you're struggling in your business, that we have a solution for it, and that we're thriving, and that we're always in a position to make sure that we have subject matter experts. If they're not myself or Mitchell, we have folks that are ready to fight for us and rescue these companies or these businesses and get them on the right path.
And data science, the biggest buzzwords that you hear nowadays is machine learning or AI. And that's kind of my cup of tea. That's what I went to school for. The biggest thing or the easiest way to explain it is whatever problem that there is, whatever pain problem there is in the business, there's a better way to do it, a way to optimize it. A lot of times it's done via a specific mathematical model, which I'm not going to get into because that will be just too technical. But there's ways to basically minimize waste, increase profits, maximize what you're doing, your time, understanding staffing. If people want to bring people on, knowing exactly how many and what their utilization rates are going to be. So again, it's not bringing someone on but then they're sitting on their butt for 50% of the time. There's actually models that go out that I can do to help them understand this is the best way to get them through, and the queuing of it. So if you're sitting in a supermarket, the queue is the line. You want to basically make sure that that line flows pretty smoothly, or else you got to bring on more people to help bag those groceries. So optimizing business processes is a big thing. Again, with the cash flow management, it's understanding what you're bringing in. A lot of it's enlightening to them. So like Shane said, you didn't want to go out and buy 3 trucks, even though you had the amount of money to it. We take them through what is going out of the business as well as what's coming in. So that way you can plan for the future. You can, while you're building this business credit and planning for the future, you're also keeping more money in your own accounts. You're using other people's money to grow. And that it's like Walmart has over 500 lines of credit that they use. So they basically will buy the Bounty paper towels using their own business credit, sell it to somebody, and then they'll use that money from what was bought to then pay off the business credit. So they're getting kickbacks basically from these credit cards that, will give percentages back. So you get that, but then they never have to put up their own money for it. So they keep getting to keep their profits and their revenue in the bank accounts to use for consulting services, to use for other pain problems in their business. So they don't have to always live day to day or on revenue or bootstrapping the business per se, like using their own money all the time. Because if they have a job that comes up that takes quite a bit of money up front, they might not be able to take that job because of not having credit and capital on hand. And that's what happens a lot when you work solely off, your revenue.
Off your own cash?
Off your own cash.
Yeah. All right, so let's bring this back because we normally go about 30 minutes, or we're pretty close to that. One of the things, so great ideas, what you guys are doing, helping out. People can reach out to you at businessleadersqrf.com, or they can email you. But I want to bring it back to your military real quick. What did you give up once you got out? Myself, I no longer do 1,300, 1,400, 1,500. I just do a regular clock. That was the one thing I gave up. Was there anything you guys gave up when you got out besides the uniform?
For a while, I gave up shaving, but now I got back to it because it's starting to get gray. You don't
want to look older than you are.
Yeah.
Was that a knock on Shane there?
Yeah, a little bit.
Or you just say we don't have it on our top, we grow it down here. Is that what you're trying to say there?
All right, you gotta hang on to it somewhere. It's I don't punish my body near as much as I did when I was in, that's for sure. But some days I'm wondering if I shouldn't have stopped that. They always say that once you get out, then that's when everything starts hurting and stuff. Well, there's some truth to that, but I don't move around quite as much as I did when I was in. I ran marathons and ultra marathons. My last marathon I ran was the Boston Marathon in 2014, and I've ran 0 marathons since then because I never really liked running. I just got real good at it while I was in the military, and don't do much of that anymore.
Yeah, that's the one thing I do hate is running. Because I did triathlons when I was in and got out, and then I love the swimming and the biking. If somebody else could take over the running for me, I'd really appreciate it. So
I was on the All Air Force triathlon team myself, and did warrior games and competed in those type of things. But the body's definitely breaking down a little bit more quickly now.
Well, I was a Clydesdale, so there's the difference.
Yeah.
So unless they had a C on their calf, I didn't care. Because you guys at 170 pounds can do a lot. It's a lot easier than us guys at over 200 pounds. So
yeah.
All right. Appreciate you guys being on. Who is your perfect client? I know it's a veteran, but who is your perfect client that should be looking out for you guys, that you need? No one's going to jump on that.
I would say that, our perfect client is a company that's, it doesn't have to be in business for a long period of time, but enough to where they are bringing in the revenue, and they're getting to the point where they're just, not able maybe to get the funding, not able to scale because of access to credit or funding. Because I have a contractor I'm meeting with tomorrow that is doing well. They're making, $20,000 a month in revenue. They got 75,000 revenue that's still coming out of the works that they've got scheduled for them, but they need a new building. They need all these things, and they just unfortunately they're strapped personal credit also to their business. And so if you're in that you're in that boat and you can't find a way to grow, then that's where we're going to come in and really help you out a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot with the business owners that are working too much in the business instead of on the business, because that allows them to definitely take a step back, do what, we build a business to scale it, grow it, and then hopefully sell it. And that's what we provide with business valuations too. And basically getting them to a point where they don't have just 2 or 3 investors on call, and we get 50 to 70 of our celebrity friends from Tim Brown to take a look at these businesses as well. So it's trying to improve basically all aspects of their business, so that way they can achieve the dreams that they want to, live the life that they want to.
And I'm sorry, I apologize. Either one of you officers, or are you both? You're enlisted?
I worked for a living. I was an enlisted guy.
Shane? Mitchell?
I was a captain when I retired.
Okay. Well, there's a reason I brought this up. All right. Most of us enlisted. I got my bachelor's and master's I was in. I could have stayed, but if I would have stayed in the Navy, I would be a service officer, and I would be on a ship all the time. No, thank you. But the reason I bring this up is most veteran people who are doing this are enlisted, and they're used to being in the trenches. Right. So you have to teach them how they're not supposed to be there. They're supposed to be where the generals were, and the other people are back looking at the whole board, playing the whole game. They're back there. That's where you need to be. Yeah. So when you're building your business, 3 days of the week, you work on your work in your business, and 2 days a week, you work on your business. And that's something that you have to teach people to understand. And a lot of people don't get that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else to add before we go?
I know we appreciate your time and appreciate any opportunity we can have out there with any of your listeners to help them out. We would love to do that. No problem.
And the best way to reach you is through businessleadersqrf.com.
Yeah, we can set up the time to speak and really get the specifics of the business. It's not one size fits all sort of thing. So we need to learn a lot about where people are at and then where we can take them.
All right. That sounds good. Thank you both for being on today. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry Amy wasn't here, but sometimes that volunteer stuff she does really takes over her time.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks, brother. Thank you. Don't run anywhere. Stay right there. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. The best thing you can do to support us is go to our Helping the Brave channel and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Make it a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.